Have you guys seen the legendary Smash doc? For those uninitiated, the Smash Brothers is a 9-part documentary series about the best Super Smash Bros. Melee players. It's credited with bringing in a new wave of players labeled Doc Kids around 2012. I've watched this series 4 times now, and I've loved it every time. But I've never critiqued it from an analytical lens, so in this video I'll be ranking them. I'm also a film major, so I get my free pass to act snobby and annoying. Let me know if you guys like this type of content, and what your favorite moment from the doc was, if you've seen it.
This is about a game that was never designed to be played at a competitive level. And the people who discovered just how far the game could go.
The first episode captures the magic of Melee, and why players are drawn to this 20-year-old game. The intricacy and depth of the physics engine lets players be creative with their own movements and combos. It's oddly similar to Mario 64 speedrunning. We're introduced to Ken, a West Coast Marth player, claiming to be the best after winning a GameStop tournament. Meanwhile,
everyone was the king of their town. Like Mike G, he was the king of Queens. Kamal, he's like the king of Brooklyn. And me and Jason, we was like the kings of Manhattan.
It showcases the seeds of Melee's birth, coming from an underground and grassroots scene. The 24p quality and handcam with the rough audio gives it a vintagey feel, like opening a box of home movies 20 years later. The editing has personality, gives off an endearing feel that appeals to gamers. Sandbox has these skits explaining Melee tech in layman's terms that pop up throughout the series.
Wave dashing. Wave dashing. What the hell is a wave dash?
Wave dashing.
And they are quirky, to say the least.
Being a robot bounty hunter, she is also an accomplished dancer.
There aren't set combos, there aren't a list that somebody somewhere decided what you can do. You can do whatever you want to with your character. You compare it to sports, you compare it to basketball or football, where a person is in control of every movement of their body. And while the video game is just a series of zeros and ones, everybody looks different. I can watch a video of a Marth, I can tell you whether it's Ken or Neo or Azim. You can see the style in a person's character, and that to me is incredible.
I love this theme. The music, the storytelling, it gives me goosebumps every time. This is why we play Melee. Show Me Your Moves is a great introduction to setting the premise and the stakes.
Episode 2 No Johns.
Intro theme is still a bop 9 years later. This episode introduces several old school players, and the developing rivalry between East Coast and West Coast. It centers around the tournament Game Over, hosted on the East Coast. At this point, Ken and Isaiah were the best West Coast players, while the East Coast had Azim, and both sides were constantly talking shit.
We all thought Ken was just, the overhyped, not very good, decent, but, overhyped, and Isaiah was, really, really good, just based on watching his matches and playing them and stuff.
I love the fact that everyone is constantly jawing, especially Ken and Chilling Dude.
Got a little bit more sleep or something the night before, a little bit of food or something, I could have definitely beaten him. But
slightly to do with the time and how late it was, and I'd been running the tournament all day.
I beat the shit out of him.
Chillin knocks Ken into losers.
The worst part was that I lost to Chillin Dude.
Ken makes a losers run and takes the tournament, solidifying that he's the best. This is a nitpick, but the motion graphics are rough at times. There is some insensitive gamer language that wouldn't fly in today's social space, but I give it a pass because it is acknowledged later in the doc. So far, the interlude skits have not made me laugh at all, but they are charming. Then we're introduced to the Japanese scene. Boiling down to, the Japanese are god Melee players, and Captain Jack is shenasty.
Captain Jack's Bowser beat Ken's Marth. I lose to Captain Jack.
It's set up Azin versus Captain Jack, and I'm on the phone with Chu while the finals is happening. I remember getting so pissed off that literally everyone in the venue, it seemed like, was cheering for Captain Jack. I'm like, come on, guys. I know Azin's East Coast, but can you support your country?
I wish Samox developed more on their relationship with the American scene and Captain Jack as a person. He's shown off as a Japanese gamer stereotype, and they don't really develop his character further. I'm not knocking the inclusion of the Japanese. Also, the way the Japanese are introduced isn't the most flattering. Because I've rewatched the doc so many times, and knowing of Ken's reputation, the episode's tension is lost on me. But overall solid episode that builds on the geopolitical tension between the West and East. It goes below show me your moves. Don't Get Hit, episode 3. We're now in 2004, and Melee is taking an interesting development, transitioning from the basement tournaments to bigger events like MLG 2004 circuit, bringing legitimacy to the Melee community, bigger pop prizes, venues, and real commentary. Don't Get Hit is the Isaiah episode, Ken's double partner who tricked everyone into thinking Falcon was a cool character, and created the infamous, famous quote,
"Don't get hit."
He's a beast in doubles with Ken.
Isaiah and I were, on an epic quest to go to as many tournaments as can to support each other.
Pretty much running doubles in any tournament. He was one of the hypest players to watch, even loved by East Coast, and considered one of the most technical players of his time. Isaiah is a shy person, but has a goofy side too. He talks about a lack of confidence, fear of attention, and being soft. I resonate with that, and it's emotionally moving to see him talk about it in a genuine way. The Most 3 is noted as being a hype finals between Ken and Isaiah, and Isaiah going crazy. I gotta say, Samox does a great job of building tension through his montage sequences. The song choices and cuts are so seamless. It's cool to see how the gameplay's evolved since 2004. Isaiah won the tourney and solidified himself as one of the best players to touch the game.
That was like Smash was moving along like this, and then people saw that and that's possible to game, then the curve of the game grew, people started getting so good so fast, and it's probably all because of that set.
Great episode that made Isaiah into a sympathetic and relatable character. But the anime B-roll takes me out of it. It comes off as cheesy and too anime moment, even as a connoisseur of the art form. Regardless, this episode is full of feels and a hype anime fight to end it off. So maybe the B-roll does work in the end.
You always have to be there. You can't be a selfish player and sit there and camp all day.
Well said, Ken. Well said. Going above No Johns. Episode 4, The King of Smash.
Ken is a villain. Ken is a villain. I have to say that with certainty.
And shown why he's the King of Smash, dominating the MLG circuit from 2004 to 2005. At this point, there's no debate. Ken is the best player.
That's the weird part about Ken, that he's just such an aggro Marth. When you usually play Marths, they're more of a spacing character. They try to bait you in and they dash away and grab you. They're always trying to play the space game with you. But with him, he would just be all over you.
It was my destiny to play Ken. It was my destiny because we were rivals as people and because I was the Marth Slayer. And it finally happened that at MLG Atlanta, I was pitted against him. So I walked over to his TV and I said, Ken, we gotta play. And he was like, "Rrr." And I was like, no, you don't understand. This is destiny. We play right now. So I sit him down. Marth Leash. He trashes me. Then I do some ridiculous combos and I win the first match.
Wife is hands down the best storyteller of the doc. He seems like a dramatic guy, but damn does he tell a good story. And the song that plays during his story has a sick bass riff, and I'm all for it. Going back to the West versus East Coast rivalry.
A crew of players would pool their stocks together and compete against other crews, planning lineups and character selections to counter opposing lineups. At FC, a West Coast crew lined up to face an East Coast crew for the first time.
Crew battles were the way to settle who's better. It embodies the trash talking that FGC is known for.
The pressure was so serious before that we had one of our starters drop out due to nervousness.
This would never happen in today's scene. Hands down, the funniest episode. So many memorable moments like the man sauce.
It's a really, really hot sauce. It's not like you could pour it. You have to scoop it out with a spoon.
I was like mad at first. I'm like, dude, who the hell is the man? I bet he's not that good. I'd kick his ass.
While people are sleeping, I'll put a little man sauce on their lip.
I got a little bit of the man at FC. It was not fun.
Or this stupid victory dance. Let's go East Coast! At this point, Ken is losing drive to compete.
He found it very inhospitable and he didn't really enjoy traveling at all.
Because of the community's animosity for his dominant performance. By the end of it, I feel bad for Ken. That was a weird inflection I did there. He takes a trip to Japan with a couple of other smashers, refreshing his passion for the game. I love this episode. It's so fun to watch. Imagine being in that gym while crews were going on. The emotion, the stench would be exhilarating. Top of the list for me. Episode 5, Revolution.
PC Chris slowly became one of the best Falcos in New York. He was even selected to represent his coast during the FC3 crew battle, and took 2 stocks from Isaiah before being knocked out.
PC Chris, an upcoming New York Falco player, upset Ken at the MLG New York opener.
That's gonna do it. The finals go to PC Chris, winner of the New York City season.
It was a big deal because no one beat Ken.
I like to think of it as like, a little revolution in New York Smash itself.
They would face off again at MLG Dallas.
Now PC, the Falcos, can try to get inside on Lamar. Nice and cute. She doesn't point out the counter.
I'm low. Just watch.
You just saw it again. That's it. Count win for Ken.
Ken works his way back, hopefully silencing some critics in his mind.
MLG Anaheim came out, the 3rd tournament, and they had a really, really great showdown.
See this, I think PC Chris is going to stick with Falco most of the way through. You'll probably see lots of traditional spacing and stage selections though.
It's wild to think Mute City was legal. Even though PC lost, he stayed as a top threat, an East Coast weapon against Ken. This would mark the point in Melee, where a new wave of players were coming up. Solid episode. PC provides meaningful commentary over his experiences similar to the Isaiah episode, but not as compelling. And he skates, so he gets brownie points. Episode 6, Paper Cuts. With Ken's reign being threatened, more newcomers approach. The aforementioned PC Chris, along with Mewtwo King and Korean DJ, were the first to come for the old guard. Korean DJ is an East Coast Sheik player, infamous for money matching top players.
I wrote down a list of all the people around me. Who's better than me? It was like a ladder process. I do it step by step by step by step by step. I don't care how good you are. I don't care if you can. I don't care if you're PC Chris. I don't care if you're Isaiah. I'll money match you $5.
Smart tactic to get games with top level players, trying to win and not just sandbagging. The Gerudo Valley theme. Fun fact, I picked up a guitar just to play Gerudo Valley. I never learned it, but I will one of these days.
I wouldn't be surprised if he beat me in the tournament at that point.
I saw him starting to annihilate people like Neo and Chillin in money matches and just destroy them, and they were like, what the hell? Who is this kid?
Couldn't even keep up with him.
What What a badass way to make yourself known. This episode recounts the remaining tourneys for the 2006 circuit. I won't be going through each event because I'd rather you guys just watch it. But basically, you guys remember Azin? Yeah, he comes back. Korean DJ beats Ken.
I could read him. I mean, he was an open book, but it doesn't mean anything if you can read a book if every single time you turn the page you get a paper cut or something like that, you know?
M2K is making top 8s. PC didn't place as well as the circuit went on. And Ken isn't undeniably number 1 anymore.
Marth for me is just, you can be so easily creative with them, and he has a very cheap spike, get very cheap kills and forward smash, and just, I don't know, he's just really easy to use.
Well said, Azin.
Tournaments in a row for you, shooting for 3 in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I hope so.
Alright, well congratulations, and we'll see you in Vegas.
The doc has been building up these rivalries, all converging to the big stage. A mix of the old guard and new blood would face off. This is the end of an era. Who's coming out on top? I know I've already said it, but Samox's montages of tournament sets do an awesome job of building the hype. And the music choice is, so fires, full of bangers. I get goosebumps every time. Hands down, my favorite episode. Player stories elevated above the rest. We get underdog stories, more wife commentary, and a hype finale to close it out. Top of the list for me. Episode 7, The Robot. Even back in 06, Nintendo did not want competitive Smash around. Now that Melee wasn't an MLG, tournament transitioned back to the underground. Ken retired after Vegas. PC, Korean DJ, and Mitu King were there to take his spot. If you've read this episode's title, you can guess who's it about. M2K is a frame guy who's looking to optimize the game in every scenario. He quickly pulled away from PC and Korean DJ. I'm going to call him KDJ at this point because I'm tired of saying that. He quickly pulled away from PC and KDJ, taking Ken's spot as number 1.
I'm like proof that a nobody can become number 1.
Then Brawl was announced. Then Brawl came out. They did Brawl dirty here. I see why people were upset about its depiction here. Granted, it's not Melee, and players did have a good reason to be upset about the direction it took. Many players retired from Smash entirely, or moved on to Brawl. Around this time, Mango was coming up. Now he's known for his Falco and Fox, but back then he was a Puff player.
Go for Jackson, Mango! Yeah! Let's go! Let's go! Fuck yeah, Mango!
He was Mitu King's kryptonite. With Melee still on the way out, one last tournament was run. ROM, bringing in a crossover of old and new players. Losers Final 4 became an iconic match for M2K's comeback on Shiz, credited for revitalizing the game. Another solid episode. Personally, my least favorite of the player-centered episodes, but it had its moments. M2K comes off as an endearing guy, who you can root for. Episode 8, The Natural. We are entering 2012. A solid 3 years after the M2K Shise at ROM. It covers the Mango vs HBox rivalry, but it's mainly HBox talking about why he doesn't get along with Mango, the differences in how they view the game, and personality-wise. Mango is brash and flashy, while HBox is patient and more conventional with his game plan. I know there's more to the story than that, but Mango doesn't get a voice besides calling him lame. I wish there was more back and forth, and not be so one-sided. Mango has innate talent, and better than everyone, while HBox has to work harder to reach the same level. The episode takes place around the tournament Melee FC 10R, where, surprise, surprise, Mango beats H-Bucks and Grands to take it all.
Mango is crowned the champion of Melee.
Earlier, I mentioned the use of offensive gamer language. There's a dedicated section to acknowledge that the terminology is wrong and insensitive. It stops the doc from feeling super dated. Would have liked this in an earlier episode, but regardless, I like the inclusion. Kind of a boring episode, to be honest. The interest lies in how much you like either player. The conflict is only built in this individual episode, so there are no stakes. I would have rather seen an episode taking place after ROM and what the rebuilding period was like. The H-Bucks and Mango rivalry felt thrown in there. It's the weakest rivalry when compared to PC vs Ken, or Asin vs Ken, or even PC vs KDJ. By this point, it feels like the series is running out of steam. Granted, Samux does cover more of their relationship in metagame. My least favorite episode, episode 9, Game. It's 2013, and EVO is looking for a fighting game to add. They run the fundraiser for breast cancer, and whichever community raises the most will get the spot at EVO. It came down to Melee and Skullgirls. Rest in peace, Skullgirls. Thank you for your sacrifice. And we won. The inclusion of this event to show how far the Melee community has grown is awesome to see. But the pacing for this section in the story feels super rushed. We get into EVO, Nintendo orders EVO to not stream Melee. They get backlash, they back down, Melee's back in EVO. Being in EVO was monumental, but again, feels thrown in there when it only takes up 7 minutes of runtime. There's no tension, it's just bang, this is happening now. The rest of the runtime is dedicated to why Smash is so loved by the community.
I want me to wrap up all of Smash. It means so much to me, and I really do think it was important. But you're asking me why? Well, it was a chance for us to be somebody. It was a chance for all of us to be somebody, and that was a big deal.
Life has such a way with words. Super sappy, sentimental ending that, I'm not gonna lie, hit me in the feels. A warm ending to a great series. Better than The Natural. I loved rewatching the doc for this video. There's a reason this is my third rewatch. Samux captures the magic of Melee, and the players who pushed it from its humble beginnings. The first 7 episodes are an insight into Melee's history that many of us weren't a part of. It's like opening a time capsule. The rivalries and player moments that define the scene are exciting to watch, spanning from 2001 to 2006. If the series ended there, I would have been content. But the last 2 episodes feel like filler. These final episodes don't take away from the first 7 episodes, but they don't add much. The editing is smooth. Transitioning from soundbite to soundbite to keep topics flowing is organic. I didn't have an issue with the pacing besides a couple of times. The mise-en-scène? Perfect. Music choice was on point, besides a few moments. Fantastic interviewees. My MVP award goes to Wife, if you couldn't have guessed. It was a lot of fun to go back to this gen, and I'm sure I'll rewatch it in another 4 years. It was 2019, and I was in Miami, having a miserable time. To pass the time, I randomly put on the doc out of nostalgia, and before I knew it, 4 hours had passed. And I had a rekindled passion for Melee. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe, or what your favorite Smash doc moment was. We're getting close to 1K subs. Hell yeah. I appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.